established a routine, and it requires me to do the same thing day in and day out. What I'd like to do is take you through a day at the races with me. This is Ed's racetrack program. This is what I use to scan races every day. You can use any past performances that you like. The reason I use this is because it shows the horse's race record at the track and at the distance, along with the morning line odds at the same time. I scroll through around 10 race cards a day, so I need to do my routine fairly quickly. What I'm trying to spot up is horses that like to finish in the money at the track and at the distance at least 60% of the time, with morning lines of at least 7-2. On this program, the distance and the track are listed here. Follow me with the pointer. Okay. On this program, the distance is listed here and the track is here. So follow me with the pointer, and we're going to scroll down until we find a horse that meets that criteria of 60% in the money at the track and at the distance, and has a morning line of at least 7-2. Okay, so here's the one horse is 2 for 3 at the distance, 1 for 3 at the track. Keep going. The next horse is 7 for 11 at the distance, but no tries at the track, so continue down. The next horse is 0 for 14, or only 4 for 14 at the distance. He's out. The next horse is 5 for 9 at the distance, 1 for 1 at the track, 3 to 1. He's out. Finish in the money, first place, second or third, 60% of the time. This next horse at 12 to 1 is 0 for 1 at the distance, 1 for 7 at the track, so he's a pass. The next race, the horse is 4 for 10 at the distance, 2 for 5 at the track. So in this particular race, we didn't locate anything, so we go to the next race. In this race, this horse is 2 for 3 at the distance, but is 0 for 4 at the track. The 2-horse Danish Dancer is 1 for 2 at the distance, 2 for 6 at the track. Alert, the 3-horse 5 to 1 is 1 for 3 at the distance, 0 for 1 at the track. The 4-horse Grin and Frown is 3 for 4 at the distance, but only 4 for 8 at the track, which is only 50%, so he's a pass. Iron Rogue, the next horse is 0 for 1 at the distance and no tries at the track, so he's a pass. The next horse is 2 for 3 at the distance, 2 seconds for 3, and 3 wins for 4 at the track. Now, here's a horse that meets the criteria in the distance and at the track. Now I go over here to the odds. He's 8 to 1 morning line, so this horse is definitely a consideration for a bet. Once I spot up a horse that meets my criteria, what I do, because I use Ed's program, which is online, is I print that race and set it aside, because I'm going to go back to it later and decide whether it's a bet. If you're looking at the racing form, which I do it that way sometimes too, I make sure I make some kind of notation. I use a Post-it, but you may have some kind of pen marking or something that you can do, but you just want to remember that this is a horse that we want to come back to. Okay, this is the last horse in the second race, even though we found the other horse. We're continuing to see if there's anybody else. This horse meets the criteria at the distance because he's 9 for 10 at the distance. However, he's only 8 for 16 at the track. So we're finished with looking at this race. Now we're going to go to the next one. This is a maiden claiming race, and I still scan these even though you'll run into a lot of them where the horses have no race record. Each place, the racing form and other programs has this information at different places. But on this one, if you see nothing in the lifetime record, the LT's lifetime record, you know that this horse has had no races yet. So in this particular case, these first 3 horses we're just going to scroll right through because we're looking for horses 60% in the money at the track and distance, and they have no race record. The 4 Doc Czar has no tries at the distance or the track, so we keep going. The 5 Dancing Money has no tries at the distance, 0 for 1 at the track. The 6 horses, no tries at the distance, 1 for 1 at the track, so you continue on. Okay. The 7-horse high def is no lifetime races, so you continue. The 8 invoking the name, the same, no lifetime races. Then the 9, even though he's 0 for 1, he's got no tries at the distance or the track. So we're going to continue. We didn't find anything in the maiden claiming race or in maiden special weight race. This is a great race to always scan, because until these horses break their maiden, you'll find horses often that finish in the money a lot, but the public tends to ignore them because they didn't show any speed. So you always want to scan these races, even though this one didn't show anything. Now this race, this horse is started with 1 for 20 lifetime. This is another stat that I actually scan for while I'm going through races. And I happen to notice here there's 2 horses in a row. One's 1 for 20 and one's 1 for 24. Let me go over this with you a little bit. When I find a race where there's a lot of horses that don't like to win, this to me is almost one of my favorite races to play. The reason is, if you have more horses that don't like to win, and then you have just a few horses that like to win, say one is 1 for 7 or 1 for 8, and then you have several that's 1 for 15 or 1 for 21. 1 for 15 is my cutoff point. I always, even though I'm not necessarily going to play that race, if I go through these races every day, I actually cross out horses, irrelevant to whether I find anything or not, that have a race record of 1 for 15 and up. The reason I do this is because if it's left with just a few horses, sometimes these are great bets for multiple race wagers like pick 3s or pick 4s. So while we're scanning this race, let's look at how many horses meet this criteria and see what we can make of this. Okay, now let's start here. He's 1 for 21. He's X out. The 2 Blues First Baby is 1 for 24 lifetime, so he's X'd out. The 3 in Valley is 1 for 7. That's very good, and he also has 5 for 7 lifetime in the money, 3 for 4 at the distance, although no tries at the track, but that's fairly good. Okay, the 4 horse is 1 for 8 lifetime, 1 for 2 at the distance, and 1 showing at the track. The 5 is 1 for 17 lifetime, so he would be crossed out. The 6 Sofet is 1 for 8 lifetime, and 2 for 3 showings at the distance, 0 for 3 at the track. The 7 Unusual is 2 for 4 lifetime, 1 first and 1 second, 1 at this distance out of 2, and 0 for 1 at the track. Okay, the 8 Request Denied is 1 for 18, so he would be crossed out. And the 9 Golden Bee is 1 for 19, so he would be crossed out. So the interesting thing to really note in this race, out of 9 horses, 5 of them would be crossed out for the race records of 15 or higher and only 1 win. This race has made me think about possibly doing a pick 4. The reason is Churchill offers a pick 4 in their first race. Race 2 is the race where we found our 60% in the money horse. So with just 4 horses here that I could use, I'm going to go evaluate and see if it's a valuable bet to make. Okay, now we've gone back to the first race in the pick 4 at Churchill to make a decision. And I noticed right away that the 1 horse, Okaya, has a morning line of 6 to 5. Now, what we're going to do is to discuss a strategy about pick 4, but particularly going to discuss Okaya to determine whether he's a legitimate favorite or not. One of the first thing I do whenever I'm going to make an exotic wager and I locate a horse like Okaya who has a morning line of 6 to 5 is to determine whether I believe that he's a legitimate 6 to 5 favorite or if he's not. The public tends to go with the morning line maker because at 6 to 5 he's really sticking his neck out there. My experience has been that they actually believe he's either the speed of the speed or whatever he is. but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's legit. And I have certain features that I go through that helps me determine whether I think they're legit or not. And the reason, even if he is a legitimate favorite, does not mean that we won't make the bet, but it's going to help me know whether I should stand alone with the horse or whether I need to include other horses in the wager. First thing we're going to do is look at Okaya's race record. His lifetime races is 14. He has 3 wins, 4 seconds, and 1/3. Now when we're betting a pick 4 wager, we're looking for horses that like to win. And at 6 to 5 morning line, the first thing you want to do is equate that to a percentage. And later I'll show you the odds percent payout table how to do that. But 6 to 5 equates to 45%. So that would mean that this horse would need to like to win about 45% of the time, in my mind, to be determined as a legitimate favorite. And he doesn't. He wins 3 out of 14, which is only a 21% hit rate. So right there, that makes me feel uncomfortable about using him as a single or using him as a legitimate favorite. The other side of the coin, though, is this horse Okaya has an excellent trainer. He has Gregory Foley. Ed's stats on his racing program gives you the trainer's record for the last 365 days. And Foley's had 309 races and carries a 22% overall win rate, which is excellent. Any trainer that carries any win rate over really 15% you have to consider. Then he also has a jockey on him that has similar stats. Rafael Bajero, last 365 days, is also carrying a 22% hit rate. The reason I point this out is the 6 to 5 is not a legitimate favorite to me to say, okay, I can stand alone with him, but yet his trainer is capable, so I would feel uncomfortable leaving him out. So my determination in this race, in betting a pick 4, is the best way to do this is to use the all button in this leg and hope for a long shot to come in. Tool I use, and I'm going to try to make this really simple. If you have Ed's book or 4+30, or if you have my book, Signers, this table is in that book. And to determine whether a favorite is legitimate, what you should do is go to the favorite's morning line, if it's 6 to 5 like in our case, equate that to a percentage, which is 45. Check to see if the horse's win rate percentage equals 45%. If it does not, or above. If it doesn't, or I'm sorry, if he's lower. If he doesn't, then it's a good chance that you can throw that favorite out. If he does, it's a good chance you want to definitely have him in, and you may even be able to single him in a bet. Now we'll go to race 2 at Churchill, which is the second leg of the pick 4. If you'll recall, this is the race that I told you some way you want to set aside, because we're going to come back to it. Because the 6 horse, quote me later, fit our criteria of 60% in the money at the distance with 2 for 3, and at the track with 3 wins for 4, and is 8 to 1. So because this horse likes to win, and because he's our focus, I'm going to single him in this leg of the pick 4. Another thing you need to be aware of when you're doing multiple race wagers is when you've scanned a race and when you've made a decision on a race, you also need to be aware of horses in a race that have a high in the money hit rate at either the track or the distance. The key is you want to make sure that when you play a multiple race wager, you want to hit it, and you want to use everything possible in that situation to allow you to hit the race. So it would be really bad of me to ignore this horse for this reason. The horse, even though he didn't meet our 60% criteria at the track, which was 9 in the monies for 16, he loves this distance. He has 10 races, 5 of them are wins, which means he wins 50% of the time. 3 of them are second, and he's got a 1/3, one showing. So he is 9 for 10 in the money, or 90% in the money, even at a morning line of 5 to 2. The other reason this horse I have to consider is he's trained by trainer Steve Asmussen, who has over 2,300 races this year to date with a 22% hit rate. So he's also has a capable trainer. And I'm pointing him out right now because I want to discuss him again in the next race. Now we're on to race 3. Now this being a maiden race, there's quite a few horses in the race that have never raced. So we can't determine anything off of this program of what to do. So what I do is go to other statistics. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and look at Ed Bain's debut statistics. Now these are Ed's debut stats, and there were only 2 trainers in the race that had stats that I wanted to look at. So these are the stats that we have. When I'm looking for trainers that are capable of hitting with horses first or second, in their debut, I have Ed has statistics on first, second, third, and fourth start. This particular horse is trained by Steve Asmussen, and he's a second start in a sprint. This is the starts, number of starts that Asmussen has is 80 starts, and he has 20 wins, which the W is for wins. And the W percent is his 25% hit rate. Now I discussed Asmussen in the last race, and here he has another horse in this race. So I want you to remember that, because we're going to, before we as we go into discussing the next horse. Okay, this is the second horse in the race, trained by Dale Romans. Keep in mind that when a horse doesn't have any history, our style, my style, and Ed's style both, we look at the trainer, and I look at the horse's race record, but I have no race record on these horses, so I'm solely dependent on the trainer. So these numbers that are showing here is how the trainer performs with horses that are either first, second, third, or fourth start lifetime. Okay, this particular horse is trained by Dale Romans, and Romans has a 17% overall hit rate for the last 365 days. And the morning line maker is something I want to point out here. Ed has a statistic that I love, because this is another way to determine whether you have a good bet or not. And this stat is on the line maker. And this horse is at 5-2, and the line maker hits 30% of the time when a horse is at 5-2. In addition, on second start sprint, Romans has 104 tries, 27 wins for a 26% win rate. So here's the 104 starts with 27 wins for a 26% win rate. In addition, this horse also has additional stats going his way with his trainer, because these numbers on the morning line of 5-2 are on Dale Romans, the trainer. And he's had 8 times that he's tried, had a horse run out at morning line at 5-2, and won with 4 for a 50% win rate. And over the last 365 days, he's had 19 starts on second start sprint and hit with a 32% hit rate. So all real strong reasons to use both of these horses. Statistics are really great tools to use, especially when you're betting your money. I happen to use the horse's race record, and I also use trainer statistics. But I also look at negative numbers and positive numbers. And when you see a trainer that has a 6% hit rate, say on first-time starters, that can give you just as good a reason to throw that trainer out as horses that have 1 win for 20 lifetime. So you can use negative statistics just as powerful as you can use positive statistics. So the reason the only 2 trainers that showed up in this race were Asmussen and Romans was because they were the only 2 that had decent, at least 20% or up, maybe 15% statistics on their horses. Okay, now, Steve Asmussen is a point I want to make, because I mentioned earlier that he had a horse also in race 2. The horse had 9 in the money for 10 at the distance. So this is where my strategy comes in, where I use trainers in either or scenarios. Now, granted, I loved my 6 horse in race 2, and I wanted to stand alone with him. But I'd be a fool to not be considered Asmussen. So what I'm going to do is actually end up structuring 2 tickets. We're going to go on to the next race first, and we're going to go over the reasons why we've chosen those horses, and then we'll discuss the structure of the tickets. Okay, now this is race 4, the last leg of the pick 4. And if you'll recall, this is the race that actually made me think about playing a pick 4. because there was 9 total horses in the race, and 5 of them could be thrown out for their in the money race records of 1 win, or out of 15 or higher races. So in this leg, we're going to use the 4 horses that have 1 win for 7 or 1 win for 8. I allow myself $250 a day. It could be on 1 race, it could be on 3 races, it could be on 4 races. And I don't ever know what I'm going to bet until I scan races. And I do try to let the races tell me what's the best bet to make. So knowing this, whenever I structure a bet, I want to make sure that when I'm structuring it, that I'm putting all the horses in that I believe have a chance. And so if it ends up being that bet is the whole $250, then that's the only bet I make. But let's go structure, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Churchill Race 1, this is the bet we're going to make. $1 pick 4-part wheel. Now remember, in the first race we're using all because we feel like the favorite is vulnerable. However, we did make a case that it's possible with his trainer that he could hit. In the second leg, we're going to do the 6, which is quote me later, the 8-to-1 shot that met the 60% criteria at the track and at the distance. And we're also going to include the 7 horse in this ticket because that's the Steve Asmussen horse that has 9 for 10 in the money. Then we're going to single the Dale Romans horse in this ticket, which is a 6 horse. And then we're going to include the 3 horses that were left in the last leg, the 4 horses that were left in the last leg that had 1 win for 7 or 1 win for 8, because we've tossed the rest because they were above 15. Well, only 1 win for 15. Now that ticket cost $48, and how you calculate that out is there were 6 horses in the first race, times 2 horses in the second race, which is 12, times 1 horse in the third race, which is still 12, times 4 horses in the last race, which makes it $48. If this were a $2 bet, it would be $96, but because it's a dollar bet, it costs $48. On our second ticket, we're also doing $1 pick 4-part wheel. Again, we're using all, as we spoke before. Only this ticket, we're going to single our quote me later horse, the one that's 8-to-1, that's 60% in the money. And in the next race, we're going to go ahead and use the Steve Asmussen horse that had the positive debut trainer stats from its numbers. And then, just in case, because he's capable of hitting either one. And then we're going to include the same 4 horses in the last leg that couldn't be tossed. And that ticket cost $24 because we did all, which is 6 horses, times 1 horse, which is $6, times 1 horse, which is $6, times 4, which is $24. Okay, this is not going to be the occurrence in every race that we bet, but it just so happens that the very first race that we played, we hit a signer. The $2 Equibase list, the $2 payouts for the pick 4 was $7,145. We have half that because we did a dollar bet, and we always do dollar bets. So we ended up with $3,572. Okay, now on each bet that we make on the video, there's going to be some losing bets, and I'm going to go over that too. I want to do a return on investment because the focus here is it's not signers, it's to make money on exotic wagers and how to make them by properly structuring them. So in this instance, we did 2 pick 4s. One cost $48, the other one cost $24, so our investment was $72. We received $3,572, so our profit is $3,500. We had a very positive result in the first bet that we made. We determined the favorite vulnerable, and we were really fortunate that a 13-to-1 shot hit the first race. Our 8-to-1 hit the second race, our 60% in the money. And so we found this race through scrolling through 10 race cards. That's about 800 horses a day that I'm looking at. So the important thing is to scroll fast, and that's what I did. So the really great thing about this is the races told us what to do. We bet them, and anybody can do this. Okay, now we're going on to the second bet. Just so happens, and it doesn't happen often, that I have a bet within a bet. Churchill Race 2, if you recall, quote me later. I felt that I wanted to go ahead and play him even though I had played a pick 4, because I felt like I have a good opportunity here, and if I did not hit the pick 4, then I could cash on quote me later. If you recall, quote me later met our 60% criteria that we're looking for at the track and at the distance. And the reason we're looking for these horses is we're either going to do a trifecta, pick 4, double, whatever, and the criteria is at least a morning line of 7 to 2. And I really didn't want to let quote me later get away from me, because I felt like he had a real solid chance of, if not winning, being in the money. So I decided to take the opportunity in this race and make an additional bet. Okay, my other focus in the race was Mountain General, the horse that was 9 for 10 at the distance. And the only reason that ended up to be was because of the race record and also trainer Steve Asmussen. However, I felt that he was going to get hammered because of Steve Asmussen. So when I was structuring my bet with quote me later, I took this into serious consideration. Now, as stated, I felt that quote me later had a serious chance of winning. So I figured, actually, win bets are usually saver bets for me, and this is the case. I figured if he won and he won and did not get in the money, I wanted to make sure I capitalized on the 8 to 1. So I did 20 to win on quote me later. And then I decided, instead of doing an exacta wheel using Asmussen on top also, I felt Asmussen would have a solid chance of possibly winning. Quote me later could be second. So I decided to use him in a trifecta, because when I looked at the payouts, when I was watching the race before I made the bet, the exacta payout was very low. So I felt that the value was in the trifecta. So if I only put Asmussen on top of quote me later with all, and the cost was only $5 because it was a 7-horse field. Okay, so, and then I decided to also, there was a horse in the same, in the race that liked third, and I felt that quote me later, if he wasn't going to win, he had a real solid chance of being second, and with the 2 placings at the distance. So I decided to go ahead and do another flyer, in the sense of dollar trifecta cartwheel, with all on top of quote me later, with the horse that liked third, the number 4, which was cost me another additional $5. And my saver bet was an exacta with everybody else in the field on top of quote me later, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is what we did. Okay, so the result was the 6-horse, quote me later, won, paid $21.80. The 3-horse came in second, and Asmussen came in third. So we hit only the win. We didn't hit the exacta or the trifecta. Now the return on our investment, we invested $20 to win on the 6, quote me later. We bet 1 trifecta with Asmussen on top for $5, with all for third. Another trifecta with that horse for third, so it was another $5. And then we did an exacta wheel with everybody else on top. So we invested $40. We received $218 for a profit of $178. Now, this ensured us a profit already for our 2 investments. So if we did not hit the pick 4 and we just hit the win bet, we're still up for the day. Okay, we're going to go on to the third and final bet of the day. Okay, Monmouth, in the very last race, when I was scanning races like I was showing you earlier, going program by program, I discovered this horse, Hey Chum. This was very exciting to me because this is not a stat that I see very often, but I do see it maybe once every other week, maybe once a month. But this horse, and with the odds that he has. But if you go to this horse's race record at the distance, he has 12 races, 3 wins, 7 seconds, and 12 showings, which means he's 12 for 12 at the distance, 100% out of 12 races. In addition, his race record is just as stellar at the track because he has 9 races with 2 wins, 6 seconds, and 1/3, so he's 9 for 9 at the track. And the beauty of him is he's 7 to 2. Now 7 to 2 is a difficult number in odds, and we're going to talk about that now. Now, if this horse were 8 to 1, this would be a no-brainer to me, because I would definitely use this horse in trifectas. My first thing I would do would be, just like we did in the first race at Churchill, I would check the favorite out in the race to determine whether the favorite was legit and all that. But that's not the case here. At 7 to 2, this isn't going to be a race about a sign or trying to catch a big score. It's one of those bets that I have to look at and say, how's the best way I can make the most money from this wager? Because 7 to 2, he has a real solid chance of winning, and I'm not a win better. I don't bet horses just to win. I'm trying to get a score out of him. But he shows me with his numbers that he either wins or gets second more than anything. So now I have to figure out what's the best thing to do for this bet. So what I did is I looked at the races surrounding him. There was a pick 4 leading up into Monmouth, and when I looked at the pick 4 wager, it sure looked to me like the favorites could win leading up into the pick 4. So that really wasn't an option for me, because sometimes you pass races because somebody shows that too many races show too many favorites winning. And the key is to make money. So I decided to pass on that, and I did the same thing for the pick 3. They offer rolling pick 3s at Monmouth. So I was really faced with what's the best way to make this bet. So I decided to look at the doubles. When I'm structuring a bet, there's a series of things I go through. The very first thing I do is I go back to the program, because I'm looking at a possible daily double here, and I want to see if any race records jump off the page at me, to make some type of determination. So I went back to the race prior to the race. The horse was 100% in the money, which is race 8, and that's at Monmouth. And I went horse by horse. Okay, this horse, now in this instance, I'm looking at lifetime race records at the track and at the distance, not just at the track and at the distance. And I noticed that the one horse at 5 to 2, Bank President, has a lifetime of 4 races, 2 wins and 1/3. So I would definitely have to consider him in a double. The 2 horse is 5 for 8 in the money. At the distance, he has 2 wins and 2 seconds. At this point, if they show any kind of in the monies, I have to consider them, even if they have never run at the track. So he could be a potential. The 3 horse, Bowl of Soup at 3 to 1, is also trained by one of my favorite all-time trainers that ever existed on the face of the earth, a trainer by the name of Bruce Alexander. And I do quite well with Bruce. He had 8 races lifetime, 2 wins, 2 seconds, so he's 50% in the money. Nothing bad really showing in the distance or the track, nothing exceptional, but nothing bad, but he's there. So I have to consider him. The 4 horse is 6 for 12 in the money, and he's 4 for 6 at the distance, 3 for 5 at the track at 4 to 1. He has to be considered. Go on, the 1A I know is scratched on the race, so we're not going to give him any attention. Then we go on to the next horse, the 5 Ranger, chance of 10 to 1. 1 for 1 at the distance, 5 for 10 at the track. Okay, then the 2 to 1 horse, he has to be considered too, because he's 4 for 6 lifetime, 2 for 2 at the distance, and 1 for 1 at the track. So what's going on here is it looks like just about every horse in the race has to be considered, and I'm not sure if that's something I want to do. So the next thing I need to do is to go into the race a little bit deeper, and how I do that is I go next to the racing form. This is the condensed version of the online racing form. The first thing that I look at is, and a very big part of my play, is hot and cold trainers. So when I go to the racing form, the very first thing I like to do is go to the current overall record at that track, at that meet. And this trainer, Lawrence Walters, is really doing very well. He has 11 races total with 4 wins for a 36% hit rate. He also has a horse that's 3 for 4 in the money, and two of those are wins. So I would definitely have to consider this horse. We're going over to the 5 horse. I had to break the form up in the slide, and I'm going to show you the 2 and so on in the next slide. But just so that you can see what I really look at. Okay, now with the horse's race record, at 2 wins for 26, that's really bad. It's really, I mean, if I'm looking to bet a horse to win, I'm not going to consider this horse to win. Yet this trainer is 4 wins for 16 for 25% hit rate, so it is capable. But the reason I'm going to not really worry about this horse is, even with the 2 wins for 26, this horse just won last time out, and I don't know if you can see that really clear, but it was after second race after a layoff. So I look at racing very logically, and if a horse has only 2 wins for 26 and he just won the last time out, chances are that horse is not going to win again. He's not going to go and repeat himself. So I'm going to comfortably throw this horse out. The next horse I need to talk about a little bit, because Ben Perkins Jr., Ed and I remember Ben Perkins Sr. running. And a very interesting point I would like to make about this is Ben Perkins Sr. was a flat-out sprint layoff trainer. I don't know how many tickets we had cashed on him. And Jr. is a route trainer. And so that's his area of expertise. And I just know that over time of playing him again and again, he hits on his routes a lot higher than he hits on his sprints. But he's carrying an overall hit rate pretty good too. He's 19%, he's 3 for 16. And his horse likes to be in the money. He's 6 races, 2 wins in 2 seconds. And he ran at Pimlico, and he ran in the stakes race. And he's got Stuart Elliott on him right now. So he's doing, and Stuart Elliott is doing really well at the meet. He's carrying a 22% hit rate. So there's so many positives about this horse, even at 2 to 1. I can't throw him out, so I'm going to have to include him. Okay, the 2 horse Super 8 track is trained by, I don't know how to say this trainer's last name, but Martin. Now, this is something, this guy, I don't know how many races he has all year, but he's 2 for 2 at Monmouth, so he's loaded for bear when he's running horses, so that's 100%. Plus, he has a horse that likes the distance. He's 2 wins in 2 seconds, and his lifetime record is pretty good also, which is 5 for 8 in the money. And he's a second race after a layoff, and he ran his first race in the stakes race. And he also has the hot jock at the track, which is Joey. Ed and I call him Joey Hot Dog Bravo, but he's a really good jockey. So I really can't see any reason I can throw him out, and I love the fact that he's 8 to 1, so I have to include him.
Go.
Okay. Then the 3 horse Bowl of Soup, who's trained by Bruce Alexander, who I stated earlier I really love. The horse is, his overall record at the meet is also very good. He's 3 wins for 12 for a 25% hit rate. And his horse shows capability of 4 for 8, 50% in the money. Plus, another note, even though this isn't a maiden race, something that the horse recently did was ran a bullet work, the best out of 32 at 5 furlongs, and this is a route race, so that gives me another reason to include him. The next horse we have to look at is the 4 Zovinger, trained by John Forbes. John Forbes' record isn't really very high. I consider he's capable, but he's carrying 11% hit rate, and he's running against guys that are 25%. Even though his horse is at money at the distance, I don't feel with his race record and this horse, the jockey at 11%, a real concern about the horse. So I don't feel like I want to put him in, so I'm not going to. Okay, now I had to decide the best way to make this bet on Monmouth Race 8, and because 3 out of the 4 horses that I liked had odds of 3 to 1, 5 to 2, and 2 to 1. I'm looking at this as to make value, so I want to make sure I make money on the bet if I make the wager. So I took the 3 low odds horses and decided to do a $20 daily double with all those 3. The lowest payout would be the 6 and the 1 coming in, and that would be just under $20. The other 2 were like 20, one was 24 and one was 27. So for a $60 investment, it looked like the worst I could get back would be $190. So I did 3 $20 doubles with those. I only did a $10 double with the 2 and the 1, and the reason I did that, the 2 was at 8 to 1, and the payout on the double was like $98. So I figured for my investment, I can go ahead and do a $10 double, just in case one of the lower price came in. I'm trying to make this into a value race. The result of the race was, unfortunately, in my eyes, the ultimate favorite hit, the lowest price payout of the double. So he paid $420. So if my one horse wins the next race, I would get $19. I believe it was, the payout said $19 for every $2 bet. So that's one of the reasons I bet the $20. So that's what we're sitting on, a $20 double with this horse, and if our one horse wins the next race. Now, I'm going to stop a minute because we hit the first half of the double, but it ended up that the favorite hit. Now, we focused on a horse that's 100% in the money, and I'd be really, really happy if he wins because I'll cash on the double. But I want to go now to the next race, because with this horse being 100% in the money, I need to figure out if he's not going to win, and can I cash on him, and can I make this a really value bet. So the next step I'm going to do is go to the racing form now that I figured out that this is my focus horse, and look at the horses surrounding this 100% in the money horse in the form. Now this horse, Hey Chubb, the one horse, is the reason for all the bets that we're making right now. He's the reason that I made the double bet, because at 7-2, I'm hoping that maybe the first half of the double I'll have a better odds come in. But what happened was the favorite came in. But I also don't want to miss him if he comes in second, because he's at 7-2. His payout won't be really great even at second. So I have to figure out the best way to make a wager, a saver wager, so I can cash on this horse. My focus is to cash on this horse. So there's a lot of positives about him. In addition to his pedigree, he's out of Carson City, which is a great sire. But he's one of the things I always do, and I've talked about this a number of times, and I want to show you how I do it and what I look for, is the trainer also owns the horse. So that, in addition to his 100% in the money, just really strengthened this play for me. But I go over to his race record, and he's 12 for 12 at the track in the distance. And if you notice, he has more seconds than he has anything else. He has 3 wins, which is very good for 12, but he has 7 seconds, which means he's more than 50% second. The same thing at Monmouth. He has 2 wins, but he has 6 seconds. So, that's telling me that if I don't cash on this double, my best opportunity is to put him in the place hole. And I'm not going to go really wild because he's only 7-2, but I want to look at the rest of the race now and see what I want to do exactly. Okay, now I'm going to the 6th horse because this is the best way we have it laid out on the screen. We're going to go through all of them. But David Geist, he's a very good trainer, but he's only carrying an 8% hit rate. His horse is 20-1. He just won last time out. He has 5 races for 46, so chances are, since he won last time out, he's not going to repeat. But it doesn't mean that he can't win, and I don't want to exclude him, but there isn't anything more I'm going to do with him other than put him in an exact on top of the 1. 7, Scary Bob, with Michael Gorm, the trainer, who's a very good trainer. Aaron Brider is over here today at Monmouth instead of being at Belmont running on the horse, which gives me reason to consider him, give him emphasis. And also his race record, he's 11 races lifetime, 4 wins, 2 seconds, and 2/3. So, and he's also at 4-1. So in this instance, I think what I'm going to do is do an extra exacta with him on top, so to try to get value out of the horse. So I'll be doing a $4 exacta with him on top of the 1. Now we're on to the 2 horse because of the way the slide's laid out. But the trainer is 0 for 3. The horse is 2 wins for 22. To me, this horse looks like he likes to be in the money more than he likes to win. He is a second race after a layoff. He didn't win last time, but he doesn't really scare me. So I'm just going to keep him as a $2 act on top of my 1. On to the 3. The trainer is 0 for 6. Another thing that here to note is the jockey is 0 for 41. So, you know, you really have to have a super trainer, because to me the trainers make the horses run in order to win this race. But, you know, I can't throw them out because I'm doing everybody on top at least in $2, but I'm just going to keep them at $2. John Zimmerman, who I think is an excellent trainer also, he's 1 for 2 at Monmouth, and the horse has pretty good numbers in the lifetime. He's 12 races lifetime, 2 wins, 1 second, and 2/3. He has Chucky Lopez up in the irons. So I like this horse, but he's 10 to 1, and I can get some serious value with just sticking with the $2 active. So I'm just going to stay with the $2 act on top. Jay's Wish, the 8 horse, he's also coming off of his second race after a layoff. He didn't do anything his last race. The lifetime record of the horse is 18 tries, 3 wins. He has a 4% jockey on him. I'm not really worried about him at 15 to 1. I'm just going to keep him as a $2 act on top. On to Ragtime Request, a 9 horse, trained by Charles Hadray, who's doing pretty good at the meet also. He's 2 for 5 at a 40% clip. But the horse won last time out, and he is at 12 to 1, so I think I can get value just sticking with the $2 act on top. The last horse, the 10 Saltario, is trained by a trainer called Kelly Breen, who's pretty good. He's got 3 wins for 20 at the meet. Again, Stuart Elliott is on him. Stuart Elliott just won the last race, so to me, I mean, not that he can't win again, but I'm not really worried. And I also happen to know on this race card that Kelly Breen already won a race, so because of that, I'm just going to stay with the $2 exacta with this horse on top. Then the final horse, I had to put him on another page so you can see him clearly, would be the 5 horse that we need to look at. And Tim Kelly is only 1 win for 9%, but he does have Joe Bravo on him, and that 25% clip I need to reconsider. He also is at 3 to 1, so I'm trying to make value out of the bet. So with him, I'm going to go ahead and do a $4 exacta wheel on top of my 1. To the bet. Now remember, this 1 horse is my focus, and I want to cash this no matter what. So if he doesn't win, I'm doing an exacta wheel with everybody on top of him for second. So that's when I said I was doing $2 and staying with $2. It's a $2 exacta wheel with all on top of the 1. And the 3 horse was actually scratched in the race, so it ended up costing $18 for that bet. And then I did an extra $2 exacta wheel with those 3 horses that were either 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 on top, so I can get some value out of it. So I did that with the 257 with the 1. Wish I could say this every day. I had 3 bets and I won all 3. This one didn't pay really high, but it won. The 1 horse, our focus horse, the one that was 12 for 12 at the distance and 9 for 9 at the track, won. Hey Chubb. He paid $5.40. We didn't have him to win. We were sitting on the double, so that means that we hit the double. The $2 daily double paid $19.20, so with the $20 double, we received $192. Okay, now our return on investment. We invested $70 in 3 daily doubles, $24 in exactas in case he got second. So a total investment of $94. And this explains the reason you really don't want to go crazy over a morning line of 7 to 2, even with the horse 100% in the money. We received $19.20 back for every $2 invested, and we had a $20 double, so we received $192. So we did have. I would like to stress that every day is not like this. I went 3 for 3 after 3 races today and hit all 3. I invested in 12 bets. The total investment was $206, and the total return was $3,982. So we had a profit of $3,776 today. Okay, today after scanning the 10 different race cards, I came up with 2 trifecta bets. So I'm going to walk you through how I came up with them. First bet is Woodbine Race 4. Okay, first we're scanning the race now, and the 6 to 1 shot has 1 for 3 at the distance and 2 for 5 at the track. So I continue on. The 8 to 1 shot has 1 for 3 at the distance, 2 for 4 at the track. So I continue. Okay, the 8-to-1 shot, the 3 horses, 1 for 2 at the distance, 2 for 4 at the track. The 4-to-1 shot is 0 for 2 at the distance, however 5 for third place showings at the track out of 7. The 5 horse, the 12-to-1, is 4 for 5 at the distance and 8 for 11 at the track. So this horse meets our criteria, so this horse would be a bet, or a consideration for a bet. Then we could continue on. The 6th horse, the 5-to-2, is 2 for 5 at the distance, 3 for 10 at the track, so we continue. Okay, the 3-to-1 shot is 6 for 9 at the distance and 8 for 11 at the track. Meets the 60% criteria, however the horse is 3-to-1, so we continue. The 15-to-1 shot is 2 for 4 at the distance and 2 for 4 at the track, so it's 50%. So I want to stop here because I want to go back and talk about the horse that we're going to consider for a bet, and then how to decipher what we want to do. Now the 5 native prospect, who's a 12-to-1, this is how I'm going to determine what type of wager we're going to make. If you look at the horse's lifetime record, the horse doesn't like to win. So this is, to me, a wonderful horse to use in exotic plays like exactas and trifectas. If the horse liked to win, like the selection we had yesterday that was 8-to-1, 3 wins for 4, I was looking at trying to score it in a different way. With this horse not winning, his 1 win for 15, then my focus then becomes either an exacta or a trifecta. So we're going to go on to the next step now, what I do after I determine what type of wager I'd like to make. Okay, what I do is I need to know if there's any more information on statistical information that I need to be focused on before I go any further. What I do is go to Ed's index of 4+30 horses. This is from our online website. And in this particular race, there's 3 horses that have a 4+30 stat. That means 4 wins or more plus a 30% hit rate or higher. The reason I do this is Ed's stats are pretty powerful, and I need to be aware if I have to be concerned about any of them. This particular statistic is showing this trainer on 3rd after a layoff in a sprint. He has 66 tries, 20 wins for a 30% win rate. At Woodbine, he does a little bit better. These are track specific. He has 64 tries, 20 wins for a 31% win rate. Okay, then another trainer, Lauren Richards, also has a 3rd after layoff in a sprint with 44 tries, 17 wins for a 39% win rate. At Woodbine, his numbers are a little bit lower actually. He has 21 tries, 7 wins for a 33%. And then there's one other trainer, Robert Tiller, who also has a 3rd after layoff in a sprint with 140 tries, 46 wins for a 33% win rate. And his numbers at Woodbine are essentially the end result is basically the same. So this sort of lines up a little bit of a chaos situation right here. So I need to go deeper. This is the online version of the daily racing form. You can use any past performances that you're comfortable with. By this time I come to this, I like the condensed version because it has basically everything that I need to know for the way what I look for. So the very first thing I do is, like we did yesterday, I go individually to each horse and look at the trainer's overall hit rate, which this particular trainer is only carrying a 13%. It's not bad, it's not super great, he's not hot, but he's not cold. However, I do notice that this horse won his last race and happened to be in a maiden race. So that's something, usually unless a horse is switching surfaces, that I don't consider that horse a bet. Now moving over to Bold Starlet, because of just the way that I have it laid out here on the screen so we can go through each horse. The trainer is a 17% win rate, 6 for 36, has a 3rd after a layoff in a sprint, and is also one of the 4+30 stats in the race. However, I do notice the horse only has 1 win for 12, but with it being a 4+30, I would definitely have to give it consideration. Robert Tiller's horse is also a third after layoff in a sprint, and is also one of the 4+30 stats. Tiller's overall race record is 21% with 12 wins for 58, which is fairly good. He has a 19% overall jockey on his horse, which is pretty good. However, I also notice his horse doesn't really love to win. He likes to be in the money with 1 win for 11. Yet I would need to include him because he is a 4+30. Now we're on to the 2 horse. This trainer has a 19% overall win rate, 11 wins for 57. And this is the other 4+30 in the race, a third after layoff in a sprint. So I would have to include this horse. Now on to the 3, Kittos. The trainer also is 2 for 9, 22%. First after a layoff. And the horse tends to be in the money 3 for 5. So that horse would have to be considered. To the 4, Diamonds for a Lady. Lauren Richards is also 2 wins for 7 to 29%. She's a third after layoff in this race, and also this horse really likes third. So I've noted that, and the only thing I did note that the horse didn't like all his thirds were at Woodbine. However, 0 for 2 at the distance, so it's not a 60% in both areas. To the 8 horse Great Air, the trainer has no tries this year, so could mean anything. Could be just starting to train, and the jockey's like a 7%. This horse is a second after a layoff in a sprint. Is in the money 2 for 5, so definitely have to be considered. Then we're to the horse that got our attention from the racing program. Joe Walls is carrying a 14% hit rate. That's good enough. I also noted that his wife, or at least a relative, I'm not sure if it's his wife, Carol Walls, is owner. So to me that's a O&T, what I call owners and trainers. That's usually a powerful move. And the horse is like 5th after a layoff, but it hasn't been running a lot, so I think the horse would still be fresh. Okay, so now what we need to do is go and start looking at the rest of the statistics that surround the race. It also has individual stats online. This is another report. It's his layoffs and claims report. And this is what I'm going to look at all the horses in the race to see if there's anything else that I need to note. And over here is the side that I pay most attention to because he has his applicable statistic. This horse is a third after layoff in a sprint, and the trainer has 28 tries with a 14% win rate. It has a place rate of 36% and in the money hit rate of 46%. So I note that. Nothing spectacular, but I note it. Now we're on to the 2 horse Flashing Machine, and in Ed's layoffs and claim report, it also will show you here, this was one of the 4+30s that was listed on his 4+30 report, which makes that easy so we can just size it up. But I like to see with the horse's race record in conjunction with the trainer's information. So in this instance, like the trainer has 66 starts, 30% win rate. The horse has 1 win for 4, so that kind of lines up. So yes, I would probably, so far the consideration would be that I would use this horse on top in a trifecta. What I'm trying to do right now is to figure out how I'm going to play this trifecta and who I'm going to use. So the 2 horse is one of the ones I'm going to use because of his numbers. On to the 3 Kittos. Now this is a good example of a trainer who has a low hit rate, and will give you a good reason because of the trainer statistic not to necessarily include the trainer in on top anyhow in one of your plays. His first race after a layoff, he has 45 starts, only 2 wins for a 4% win rate. However, I do notice that the horse likes to be in the money, so he's not a complete toss, but right now he's not definitely in. Now we're on to the next 4+30 that showed up on Ed's stats. This trainer has 44 starts and 17 wins for a 39% win rate. But I started noticing something that when I talked earlier about things jumping off the page at me, this trainer's numbers started to really rise as you got in the money. Like this is a win place combined, but it's 26 for 44. And then the money became 36 for 44, which rose way up to 82%. And then when I look over at the horse's race record, this is the horse that loves third. Now, lifetime is 5/3 for 8, and at this track, 5/3 for 7. So I'm thinking, okay, this horse could possibly win because he has one win for 8. Yet this horse could very well get third because this horse likes third, and the trainer's numbers really seem to coincide with the horse being third. So I note that because this sometimes, even if a horse doesn't show any races at the distance, but has such a solid stat at finishing the money in a certain position, and then has a solid trainer stat, I will make bets for horses finishing in a certain position for those statistics alone. And here are the last 3 statistics in a 9-horse field. We're to the 6-horse Bold Starlet, the one that has 1 win lifetime for 12. But yet the trainer has on third after a layoff in a sprint, 110 tries with 26 wins for 24% win rate. In addition, the morning line is at 5-2, and the trainer at 5-2 hits at a 36% hit rate. So now I have to consider the 6-horse even with only 1 win lifetime. To the 7, this is the Robert Tiller horse, and this is also the other 4+30 in the race. This is also the horse that we were discussing that had just 1 win for 11, but also liked to be in the money. And as you can see, as we're talking, things are starting to look a little bit wide open because you can make a case for a lot of these horses off of their trainer statistics. So on third race after a layoff, he's 33% with 140 starts with 46 wins. And then you go down to the what Ed calls the subsets, which when this trainer is running a horse at 3-1, he has 10 tries with 5 wins, so he hits a 3-1 at 50% of the time. In claiming races, he has 50 tries with 19 wins, so he hits that 38% of the time, and so on. You continue down, you see these big numbers really unfold with this horse, and so you have to consider having him in as well. To the last statistic in the race, here's a trainer that has second race after a layoff with 25 starts and 2 wins for just an 8% win rate. But yet this is a fairly lightly raced field with all of them just have actually 1 win. So it would also be difficult to toss this horse. And one other really significant point I would like to make, and this is going to help explain the reason what unfolded and why I made the bet that I did. The only horse that does not have a stat, an Ed Bain stat in this race, is our key horse that we're looking at, the 5, which is the one that has all the in the money information. Back to Native Prospect, and I want to talk about him for a minute, and then talk about what we're going to actually bet. If you go over to Woodbine, you can see that the horse has 11 races with only 1 win, so I'm not really concerned about putting this horse in the win hole at all. 4 seconds, so that's 5 win or place out of 11, 3 shows. And at the distance, of course, only 1 win in 2 seconds and 1/3. In this race, I also noted that there was another horse that really liked third. So my decision ended up to be that I'm going to do this horse with exactas for second and not worry about him for third, and then consider the horse that liked third, and make a bet also on that horse finishing third. So I'll bring you back to the 3rd place horse again, show you the reason for that decision. But what we're going to do with him is just an exacta wheel with the field on top. To the 4 horse Diamonds for a Lady, horse with 5/3 for 7 at the track. That's 82% in the money. Shows me that this horse really has a solid chance of being third. 82% is the trainer's statistic on the stat. This is the bet for Woodbine race 4. We did 2. The first one was a $1 trifecta part wheel, all with the 4. That's the horse that liked third. It costs $42 to do that, make the bet that way. And then we did a $2 exacta part wheel with the horse that caught our attention for the race, all with the 5 for a cost of $14. This is the results for Woodbine Race 4. As you can see, neither one of our horses came in the money. The 1 won, the 6 came in second, and the 2 came in third. So we had the 4 for third, didn't come in, and we had the 5 for second, so neither showed. Okay, so this is our return on investment. Unlike yesterday where I went 3 for 3, today, the first race, I invested $42 on one trifecta, $14 on exactas, which for a cost of $56, and received nothing because we lost. So okay, now the last bet I just showed you was the trifecta, and it was a good representation of how I structure one. I had 3 total bets for this day. There was another trifecta and also a pick 4. But since I've shown you how to do that, I'm not going to go into those bets in detail. Yet I am going to tell you that I lost all 3. I had invested in a total of 12 bets for the day. My total investment was $206, and I received nothing in return. So now we'll go on to an exacta. We're at the 4th race at Arlington. To walk you through how I found this bet, just like we did earlier, I went to the horses' race records as I was scrolling through the programs. 3 for 6 kept going. 5 for 5, yet he's 6 to 5, so I kept going. 1 for 16, 7, he's out, so I continue on. On to the 15 to 1 shot here was 2 for 5 at the distance, and 0 for 1 at the track, so we continue. The next horse was 3 for 4 at the distance, 1 for 2 at the track. It continued. The next horse was 1 for 3 at the distance, 2 for 4 at the track. Continued on. The 7 horse at 20 to 1 was 5 for 9 at the distance, 5 for 11 at the track, not 60%. The 8 horse at 8 to 1 was 1 for 2 at the distance, 1 for 2 at the track. It continued. The 9 horse was 3 for 4 at the distance, which is 75%, and 4 for 4 at the track, which is 100%. So I immediately go over to the odds, and the horse is 6 to 1. So this horse met our 60% in the money at the track and at the distance criteria. So I set this bet aside to come back to later. And then there was one other entry in the race, which was the 1A, who was 3 for 4 at the distance and 2 for 6 at the track. So that finished the scanning for the race. Up on is Eccentric, the 9 horse. So I immediately went to the racing form to pull up the information about him. He's actually a filly, but the first thing that jumped off the page at me, and this is something that I look for on an everyday basis too when I'm looking at racing forms and deciphering a bet, is that this horse was actually claimed back by Michael Rivas. So you can see here Michael Rivas had the horse. This little C here is significant because it says that the horse was claimed, and Wayne Catalano had claimed the horse. Now Michael Rivas has it today, so that means Michael Rivas claimed this horse back. And that's very exciting to me. Even though the horse won last time, Michael Rivas expected to win with this horse, so he's claiming it back to get the win. Now the next thing that we do is what we did earlier in the pick 4 bet. We notice that there is a 6 to 5 horse in this race. And now I need to determine whether this 6 to 5 is a legitimate favorite. Well, what I have to do is go over to the horse's race record at the track. He's 6 wins for 11. Now remember, 6 to 5 equates to 45% hit rate. So 6 wins for 11 is actually a 55% hit rate. So in my mind, with the way I look at things, he is legitimate in the number of wins that he has at this track, because it's above 45%, it's 55%. In addition, this horse has 5 races at the distance with 4 wins for an 80% win rate and 1 second. So in the way I look at this race is this horse could win. So now we're going to go ahead and structure the bet. Okay, now I want to talk to you about value. Sometimes there's a reason that it would be better to make an exacta wager versus a trifecta wager. And this is a perfect example of that type of race. The 3 horse at 6-5 has a legitimate chance of winning, or he has a legitimate chance of getting second. And the 9 horse, who is our focus horse, who's at 8-1 morning line, has a real solid chance of being in the money. So the better bet would be to bet an exacta with the favorite on top of a large exacta versus trying to do a trifecta with them, because the payout won't be as great. I'll show you what I mean. First thing we're going to do is bet 20 to win on the 9, because he's 4 for 4 at the distance, and just in case he wins, we want to cash on that 8-1. The next thing we're going to do is because we believe that the favorite is legitimate, we're going to go ahead and do a $20 exacta straight, the 3 on top of the 9. Then our saver bet's going to be, just in case the 3 doesn't win and the 3 gets second, we're going to put a $2 trifecta part reel rather than $1 with the whole field on top. So we're going to do all. We're going to use that 3 horse's record of 5 for 5 at the distance, and we're going to say, okay, that one placing, just in case he gets second, use him for second, and then put him on top of the 9. So it so happens that the legitimate favorite did win. With having a $20 exacta, we got $16.20 for every $2 bet, which meant we grossed $162. If we had decided to bet a trifecta instead, it would have cost us, for a $2 trifecta, $14. We would have gotten back $102 instead of $162. And I'm pointing that out to you because we're looking for value. We're back to our return on investment. We invested 20 to win, the $20 exacta straight with the favorite on top of our focus horse, and then we did that trifecta with the favorite for second. This time we did it for $2, for $14. So our total investment was $54. We received $162 back for a profit of $108. Okay, now I'm going to go over a race with you that's a trifecta bet, where it makes more sense to make the trifecta even with the favorite in the race because of value. You'll see what I'm showing you. This is Monmouth, June 18th, race 8. I'm going to walk you through just how I found this race too. Okay, so I was scanning the program. This horse is 3 for 3 at the distance, 2 for 3 at the track, but 3-1, so I kept going. The distance was 2 for 4, no tries at the track, kept going. The next horse was 6 for 8 at the distance, 1 for 1 at the track. This horse meets the criteria, and then I go over here, he's 10-1. So I know that I'm going to set this race aside and consider this a possible bet. Continue to scan even though I've located the 1 horse. So now I'm on the 4 horse at 9-2, no tries at the distance or the track. Onto the 5 horse, here at the distance is 7 for 7, and then at the track 5 for 6, and this horse is a morning line of 4-1. So that's exciting. That horse we have to pull out too. Okay, then we went down to the 6 horses, 7-2 is 2 for 3 at the distance, 4 for 4 at the track. He also meets the criteria. I continue. Continue on, and there's the 8 horse, the 7 horse at 10-1 is 8 for 12 at the distance, but no tries at the track. The 8 horse was scratched in the race. The 9 horse was 12 for 14 at the distance and 4 for 4 at the track, 6-1. Here's another one that meets my criteria, so I'm going to pull him aside. We're going to go ahead and focus on the 3 horse from away for a minute, on the horse's race record, in addition with the trainer's record, Michael Matz, and show how these two parallel. Remember, we pulled the 3 out. He met our criteria because he had 8 races at the distance and he has 6 in the money. He also has 1 showing at the track. So this horse, like 1 win for 8, it doesn't look like he likes to win as much as he likes to be in the money. Now, I want to go to this trainer. This is where I say that the horse performs to the trainer's strengths, and this is a perfect classic example. The trainer has a statistic of second after layoff in a route. He has 6 tries with 0 wins, yet he has 2 placings and 4 showings in the money. almost identical to what the horse is performing to. So this is telling me that more than likely, with these numbers climbing way up to 67% in the show hole, that this horse has a really good chance of being in the money. There's two other horses that we pulled out that I wanted to talk about that could be in the money. First, we're going to go with the 9 horse because of his record at the distance and at the track. Okay, now he has 12 out of 14 in the money, so that's telling me that he has a very good, really good shot of being in the money. The other thing about him is that he's 4 for 4 at the track, so he really likes Monmouth. So to me, my focus now is on making sure that I somehow capitalize on the 3 and the 9 being in the money. Very interesting horse, and actually he's a great horse to use and not really have to spend a lot of money on this bet and possibly hit a very high score. And this is the reason. If you go over here, Twist and Pop has 7 races at the distance, and he has 4 wins and 3 seconds. So he's, it's a mare, she's 7 for 7 at the distance, so she either wins or gets second. And the same thing with the track. She's not 6 for 6, but she's 5 for 6. So I'm going to take this for the value that I believe it is, and I'm going to key off of her in a trifecta and show you why I think this is the best bet for the race. Since I believe the 5 Twist and Pop is going to be first or second, I'm going to put those 2 horses that we just discussed to be in the money only for third and use Twist and Pop in first and second. So our first bet is going to be a $1 trifecta part wheel, the 5 Twist and Pop with all the field in the middle, with the 3 and the 9 for third. Then our next bet will be another $1 trifecta part wheel, all on top of Twist and Pop, so if she gets second, with the 3 and the 9 for third. So each bet costs $12, so our total investment is $24. Okay, Twist and Pop came in second, so our plan worked, and the 3 or the 9 came. The 9 came in third, and we had the 3 and the 9. Even the favorite won. The 1 horse was a favorite, and he came on top of Twist and Pop. Now this is a $2 trifecta payout for $302, so we had half of that. But even with that, we invested $24, and we ended up making $151. Now our return on investment. Now when we bet a $1 trifecta, we used Twist and Pop or neither or. The favorite happened to come in. It could just as easily have been anybody, and it could have been a signer in this race. But by playing this way, we were very strategic because we planned this whole bet out, and it was very inexpensive. We did 1 trifecta cost $12, the other trifecta cost $12, so our total investment was for $24. Over the last 3 days, I made 22 bets. I invested a total of $490, received back a total of $4,295 for a profit of $3,805. I hope I've shown you, by walking you step by step by what I do, how easy it is to spot up these plays. The other thing I hope I've really stressed in showing you the details that I have is just how logical racing is. If you think something and you think it looks like something, chances are it is. And I think one of the advantages I have is I look at things for what they're worth, and a statistic is the best information that you can get. If you have a negative statistic, you can use that to your advantage and know when you can toss out a horse, like we did with the horses that were 1 for 21 lifetime. You can do the same thing with the trainer stats when you see a trainer that has a 4% hit rate on a trainer move. You can also do the same thing with jockeys and horses' race records. What has happened here is the variables that I use are considered by a lot of handicappers as secondary handicapping factors. But I've shown you how you can take what the industry labels as secondary factors and use them as primary factors and win.